Hey there, welcome to my channel where I take you on tours of unique homes and showcase stories of people living alternatively. In this week's episode, we're featuring a school bus that's been converted into a tiny home unlike any we've ever seen before. Gordon has created a complex home on wheels, complete with cargo deck storage for his tools, a custom crane boom, and systems for managing his bus remotely. And he'll take us through the inside of this skoolie and explain how this passion project has evolved into an incredibly functional home that can be used as a tool and remain flexible for everyday living. But don't forget, if you like videos like this, you should subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know every single time we publish a new episode.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
When I bought the bus originally, the school district was auctioning it off. I ended up winning the auction for just over $2,000. I want to say $2,025 or something like that, which was a damn steal. So I got the bus with sort of no plans. Like, I had inspiration and images in my head, but I didn't have a floor plan. I didn't know this was going to happen. In that time when I was designing my bus, the thing that was constantly on my mind was how to make it flexible and useful in as many ways as I could possibly make it. In order to be worth doing as a project, I needed to really make it a useful part of my life. So I don't full-time in this rig, but I travel in it, work out of it, I use it as a tool. Thinking about it from that angle is really what evolved into the design that I went with. I took over my parents' whole driveway, threw my tools and materials all over the place, and basically just worked for a month straight every day, ripped the bus apart, cut it in half, took it down to the frame in the back, started building up the new cargo deck. To get the outside structure looking pretty much like it looks now, it was that month. Since then, it's been 2 years of tinkering and details and interior. All the stuff that I'm really a nerd about has just been a constant creative outlet for the last 2 years or so. I'd be more than happy to talk about the price if I had any damn clue what it was. This has been a total passion project for me. There's some projects on the bus where it feels like I just threw money hand over fist at it, and there's other things on the bus that's just built out of scraps and glue and whatever was lying around. You know, you see it, you think Mad Max, you think apocalypse. It's very easy to get to like it's some kind of prepper situation. Sure, it would be useful in that environment, but that didn't have any influence on my ideas for building it. I bear no illusion that I'll be able to buy diesel after the world ends or anything like that. I didn't build it to survive a zombie apocalypse or a contagion outbreak or whatever. It survived COVID, so maybe it's already done its job. So this is the outside of the rig, the big picture. This is a 2003 Bluebird school bus, originally 11 windows long. I chopped 5 of them off, kept 6 for living quarters, and turned 5 into a flatbed. The bus here is about 36 feet long. It's about 11'10" high with the roof rack, and about 23,000 pounds all loaded up. All right, let's climb up. So I've got a full-length roof deck, roof rack on this bus. It's mostly for storage, not really for hanging out on, although you can and it's nice. Over the cargo deck in the back, it's full width, big storage space. And then there's a walkway down the center with solar on both sides. And then at the front, there's a smaller storage space. This middle section also makes a great place to store if I'm getting some lumber or some steel or something for a project that's 20, 24 feet long. I can run it right down the rack here in the middle, tons of space. So this deck is fully custom designed and fabricated. It's made out of this wire decking mesh that you can walk on, but also makes for really great strapping options. All my bags have the built-in tie-down straps that just loop through the deck. I can put ratchet straps through it, bungee cords, whatever, super flexible. And then up here is where my solar arrays are. So I've got 200 watts on each side. I have them on separate charge controllers because they're often and always getting very different sun conditions. Not a ton of capacity, but enough for me, given that the solar on this rig, the main need that I have for it is that it keeps the built-in electronics and the computers and the automation stuff running 24/7 even when I'm not at the bus. Just keeps the batteries charged up. For house power, mostly I rely on the alternator chargers because I'm driving a lot, I'm on the road, I'm doing travel days. If I drive 3 or 4 hours a day, I can keep the house power charged up. And I also have the generator when I need it. So this cargo space is sort of the most flexible area of the bus. I've got these sort of shipping container inspired tool bench, workbench modules that I can lift on and off of here. I've got a couple of different canopy, like tent option roof things, one with screen windows, one that's just this roof, a couple of different modes that can work in. So I'll start taking this canopy down and we'll put the crane up. So this is the custom crane boom I came up with to help me manage these big containers. Like I said, I've only got one of them with me at the moment, but it's a whole system of modular storage and toolbox type rigs. And then this crane boom sticks out outside the frame of the bus so I can pick them up and plop them on the ground. And I already have this strong overhead structure to work with, so using that as a hard point to mount some kind of lifting operation. So once I've got those mounting brackets on that crane boom, I can just lift it from a rope from above into place by myself pretty easily. And these brackets just clamp right on. And like so. So this container is my micro portable shop. And what it is a workbench and tool storage and hardware storage underneath. If I'm on the road to do a project, or if I'm going to someone else's shop to help them out with something, to work on something, I can show up somewhere, unload this, or I could put it on wheels and move it into a shop, or I could use it still on the back of the bus with the canopy up under the tarp, or any number of different ways of using it, and sort of set up a work area around myself where I've got a bench, I've got my tools out, I've got hardware and nuts and bolts that I commonly need for the types of things I'm working on, and it all just packs back up into this box, and I can drop it on the back of the bus, move it around, leave it home, bring it with me, whatever I need to do. When I go to land this thing on the bus, I just land it on these feet. These feet slide into the bottom of these pegs, but because these are keyed, they go into this receiver socket on the deck of the bus. They rotate 90 degrees to pin to the container, but then they're stuck there. And that means when one of these is loaded on the bus, if I've got those 4 pins in, I don't need to worry about having a bunch of straps or anything to secure this to the bus. It's just locked on there and it's permanent until I take those pins out. Once everything's unhooked, the crane boom just comes down as easy as it went up. I just undo these latched sort of clamps that are up here and let it down easy. And there it is. And here on the rear wall, this is a fully newly built rear wall because the bus used to go the whole length. Cut the body off and built this new rear wall, and then took advantage of that space as storage. So I moved the door to the side, which makes room for the bed inside, but also outside I've got these big storage boxes where I keep rigging stuff and stuff related to the crane, ratchet straps and carabiners and whatever. I made these panels that go on the doors of the boxes for clipping stuff onto so it wouldn't have to go in a box and make a mess. Try to take advantage of that. I've got my composting toilet over there that I try to not use, but I like to have with me. Got my shop vac, gear and stuff that doesn't mind getting wet. Can sort of store here and be a little bit out of the way. All right, now you can follow me and we'll check out the inside. So welcome to the inside of the bus. This front area is sort of the main seating area and like driver's area. All 4 of these captain's chairs are on swivels, so they can be facing forward with a seat belt while we're driving. You can have 4 people riding here, hanging out together. In order to get a passenger seat in here, I had to move the door back, and that was a big priority for me because I didn't want to feel like if I'm driving the bus on some adventure with my friends that I'm the bus driver and everyone else is seated back here. I wanted a real passenger seat so I feel like I'm with somebody. And then because I moved the door, we had to rebuild all the dashboard and everything because there was nothing here before. And so we went with this aluminum structure that's secured to the bus, and then on that all these plastic panels where the original gauges and everything from the original dashboard moved up to. In the plastic on top, some of the panels have these plexiglass windows. Those panels are mostly just so I can sort of see and check in on all of the systems and electronics and equipment that's in there. This is a touch screen, primarily just a readout for all the systems on the bus. I can get to my solar stuff from here. I can get to my lighting stuff, my system stuff. I've got sensors on all my fuel tanks and my water tanks for levels. I've got temperature sensors in the cabin and out back. And that's really helpful for me when I'm not at the bus or the bus is unattended. I can sort of keep an eye on it remotely. This is all accessible over the network, and the bus stays on the cell network 24/7. So from my computer at home or from my cell phone, I can get in and check on things or like turn things on and off and make sure things are doing okay. Another detail up here that I'm really happy about is these 2 skylights, one on each side, and those just sort of open this space up a little more, let more light in. They also open and close. They're not as loud as just having a window down right next to you, but they still sort of pull a lot of air out and keep the inside of the bus a little cooler while I'm driving in the summer. On this side is all my power distribution, and then above that is my AC source routing. So I've got a generator that can make AC, my shore power hookup that I can take AC from, and my inverter that can make AC. And I'd like to be able to send those different sources to different places. If, for instance, I'm running the generator, I might want to send some of the generator power to an outlet on the deck to power someone else's rig, and I might want to send the other phase of generator power to my charger. And just having these switches and breakers here lets me select, I want to send my shore to my charger and turn the generator to the aux or some other combination. Just keep it flexible. I went with carpet for the ceiling. That helps with noise inside, it helps with insulation, and it also gives me a place to put Velcro stuff too. There's a lot of Velcro stuff in the bus. The main thing a lot of people notice is my patch collection is all Velcroed to the ceiling here. Between the lights, I have these huge patches that I made that say 599. 599 is the original bus number when I bought the school bus from the school district. And I just really thought that was cool and I wanted to keep that. I kept a lot of sort of school bus motifs and legacy stuff, like I kept the original door and I wanted to keep the number. Moving back, I've got these overhead storage bins that I made. These are made the same way as all the lower console and upper console stuff. They give me a lot of flexibility in an extra place to put stuff. I keep clothes in there, or on this side I keep a lot of dry food sometimes because it's right above the kitchen. When I'm on my own, I've got my little sort of desk table space. I can pop a laptop down here or eat a meal or whatever I've got to do. And then behind all this stuff, we can move to the kitchen. So this is the kitchen galley area. I've got a little sink up here, just big enough for a little cooking or washing your hands or whatever, nothing fancy. I've got a little cubby here for spices and soaps and utility stuff. And then this is the fridge and freezer. Pulls out, got freezer on this side, fridge on this side, a lot of capacity there, and a nice latching drawer so it doesn't come flying out while I'm driving. Storage here for my stove, some fuel, just other kitchen odds and ends. And then over here on the other side, a bunch of drawers for just everything kitchen related that I could need. I've got these rubber mats on my countertop that help me avoid messing my countertops up too bad, and that's been great. These countertops are just painted and polyurethane, so they are more fragile than a proper epoxy countertop, but these rubber mats have been great. And if we keep going behind me, we get into the bedroom space. On the corner of the bed, I cut the corner off a little bit so that I could maintain this hallway space. And then I used this corner structure as a spot to make a bunch of fabric pockets. And this is just another good spot to store all kinds of stuff that would be clutter otherwise. I've got a partition here that I made that I can use to separate the bedroom off, and it just sort of unfurls and velcros up like this. If I'm traveling with multiple people and someone wants to change clothes or anything like that, there's a little space that they can make private for a moment and do whatever they need to do. Maybe it's pouring rain and someone needs to use the composting toilet or whatever. There's at least somewhere that can be separated from the rest of the bus. Another important component of that is the panel at the foot of the bed that sort of separates the bed from the rest of the cabin space. The bed itself is a set of bunk beds, but normally I only use the bottom bunk as storage space. When I do set up the bottom bunk, the top bunk can be moved up a little bit. You can see how it's pinned in place here. It could be pinned in place here instead, and that gives the bottom bunk equal headroom to the top bunk. But when I'm only using the top bunk, I drop it down to the lower height. It's just easier to climb in and out. You get more headroom, better when I'm on my own or just with one person. This is where I have a lot of hanging storage. I put hooks, and I have a bunch of these drawstring mesh bags that I use for mostly clothes storage, but also some gear and some other stuff. And just having that all hung here on the wall is a really great out-of-the-way storage option where it doesn't have to be buried in a drawer or anything like that. Above me is the hatch that I made to access the roof. Obviously, I had to get rid of the center hatches from the original bus because my roof rack goes down the center on the outside, so those hatches couldn't go anywhere. But I still wanted to be able to climb to the roof from inside, so I made this hatch that goes on the curved part of the roof. In order to climb out, there's a foothold here, and there's also the bunk, and so you can sort of climb your way out using this as a foothold and this is a foothold, and then step your way out. It's not like the most convenient, but I have ladders on the outside that I use more often. And if you come the rest of the way, you can check out the bed. I've got a full double mattress here with just one corner cut off. I've got this fabric headboard storage that is yet another thing that's velcroed to the carpet that's on the wall. There's also a big cover that I can zip closed over the entire bed if I'm not sleeping in here, or if I'm on a big moving day and I want to be able to put stuff on the bed, like toss a backpack or a jacket or something that's a little wet or might be dirty. I can zip the bed into a big cover, and then it's protected from getting messed up and saves me the headache. This is the window cover that goes on the bunk window if it's too bright outside or if I'm at a truck stop and I want some more privacy. And this velcros to the window when it's on the window, or it can just velcro to anywhere on the ceiling when I'm not using it. And just like this window cover goes on that window, I've got window covers that I have made for all the windows in the bus. Some of them, like this one, are just a magnet that goes up on the metal door. Some of them, like this one, are Velcro. And then some of them, like the ones up front, actually snap on and can fold in half. And that lets me black out the whole bus if I want ultimate privacy or ultimate darkness. This bus has a DT466E electronic injected engine in it. Started out just under 200 horsepower, 195. I reflashed the ECU to get me up to 250 or so. And then on top of that, I did a water methanol injection system. And so I'm up around 270, 275 now as best I can figure. That helps me cruise pretty good on the highway. The gears on this bus let me do about 70 miles an hour at about 2,300 RPM. The engine's been great. It's been super reliable. If I'm trying real hard, I can get about 10 miles per gallon. But if we're being realistic, we're sticking around 6 to 8 miles per gallon on a varied terrain cruise. So moving back, the first thing along under the bus here is my battery box. This has both my starter batteries and my house batteries in it. I've got 3 lead acid starter batteries in parallel, and I've got 9 lead acid house batteries in parallel. I went with lead acid for temperature reasons. This bus spends most of its time upstate New York. It's very cold, and it spends most of its time unattended, not climate controlled. And I need to be able to charge and discharge batteries in the cold. The house battery bank is 900 amp hours, but because it's lead acid, I only get about 450 before I start to worry. So moving behind the door, this is my main fuel tank. This is 65 gallons diesel tank. On the other side, there's another tank that can pump into this one. They're both about 65 gallons. That gives me about 135 gallon total capacity, which comes out to be over 1,000 miles of range. This also runs my diesel generator and my diesel heaters. I try to keep everything on one fuel just so that I don't have to have propane for heaters and all this other stuff. Just run it all on diesel, and that simplifies systems a little bit. Underbelly storage was important to me just because of how much interior space I took out. So I'm working with limited interior space, and so I need to compensate for that with some interior stuff stored outside. On this side, this is my water tanks. I've got a 30-gallon fresh tank and a 16-gallon gray tank. The only thing that ends up in that gray tank is the waste from the sink, so I don't need a ton of capacity there. 30 gallons of fresh keeps me going for quite a while. Then this is my pump box for my diesel heaters. I've got 2 diesel heaters inside, and I have the fuel pumps for those accessible just for maintenance purposes and quality of life. And then this box is my diesel generator. I've got a 5 kilowatt Cummins Onan diesel generator, and I can use that to charge my batteries or charge someone else's rig, run my house power without the inverter. I don't use it that often, but it comes in pretty clutch when I need it. Another thing on this side of the bus is my exterior shower. All my plumbing is right inside right here. So I put my exterior shower here on the outside wall, and I don't use it all that often, but it's a great option to have when I'm boondocking and I just need a quick rinse.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you soon with another unique home tour.